As a great rock and roller once said, "Are you ready to rock?" I hope you are, because Kumar Rocker takes the mound tonight, and we're going to talk about that and the Rangers' first road trip of the year. Next, it's the DLLS Rangers Podcast. Yes, it's time to take this show on the road, as the Rangers really had a great first weekend at home, 3-1 record against the Boston Red Sox. Now they are headed to Cincinnati for the first really short road trip of the season. Hi there, welcome into the sports studios of DLLS. Welcome to the DLLS Rangers Podcast. John Radigan here, Jeff Wilson there. The Prophet harried and hurried over there. He got stuck in traffic today. Great job getting us on live today. We're glad to have you too, as we're here in our normal noon time slot for now, as we want you to chat along. We want you to like and subscribe. That would help us very much if you would do those things. And we think it's going to be a great little trip, Jeff, because the Rangers are feeling good about themselves as they hit the road.
It's hard to. They could have done better at home. They could have gone 4-0, I guess.
Sure.
They could have scored.
Yeah, they were not that far from it.
They could have scored 10 runs a game, but you know what? It's better to be 3-1 than 1-3, and so they're going to go to Cincinnati, and it's going to be cold today, okay tomorrow, and then maybe thunderstorms on Wednesday.
But 80, yeah.
But it's going to be rocky weather. So you hope you get them in. Going to have two rookies and Nathan Eovaldi in the middle. So, you should feel good about what, based on the evidence at hand, you should feel good about this series. The Rangers are doing okay, and their starting pitchers have been okay. Yeah,
that's the thing. And one of those rookies, as we know, got his first win on the homestand. That, of course, is the guy starting the finale, Jack Leiter. But let's focus on this pitching matchup tonight, which, of course, is Rocker versus Singer.
Oh,
you see what I did there?
I did.
You got a rocker and a singer. So I guess this is sort of like, Frank Sinatra against Aerosmith, or, the Rolling Stones.
Right.
Against, but, that's just a fun little play on words. But Kumar Rocker, look, a year ago when he was getting called up, a year ago when we were watching his stint in the minors, both at AA and at AAA, it was just a foregone conclusion that this guy was going to be an absolute stud, ace of the major league staff and all that. And then, you get to the big leagues and it's a different deal.
It sure is, and they don't chase. They see the pitches right out of your hand. That's why it's so important for, a lot of these pitches to tunnel, come out of the same tunnel, which is what makes Jacob deGrom so good. Kumar, we've talked about his spring. It was bad, then it looked like he figured something out.
Sort of bad, okay, and then good.
And then it slowly got better. Yeah. I still don't think he's where he wants to be or where the Rangers would like him to be. I think there's still a few command things that he's working through. He didn't get the feel for the slider really until his second to last start of the spring. The fastball's just been very, very good. It's 96 to 98, and for whatever reason, guys just can't hit it. Maybe it has a unique characteristic, whatever. Maybe they are, looking for the slider sometimes, and they should be looking heater. But look, it's great stuff.
Yes,
it's imposing mound presence. There's the thought that when the lights come on and the third deck comes on, that this guy just thrives in that environment and gets the adrenaline and is just a bulldog. So all those things, you just got to see them, you know, and again, 3 starts in his career. They weren't great. I mean, the first one was pretty good, but still could have been better. But now, you know, a full offseason off after his return from Tommy John, I think, you know, the Rangers are going to be cautious, but not as cautious. You know, I think he has the opportunity to go 7 innings if he's pitching that well. But he's got to go out and do it. And again, these are major league hitters, and it's just going to be a test.
Yeah, and we remember that second outing that he had, and I can't remember against whom that second one was, but they weren't going to chase that curveball. When the curveball came in, they were just not going to swing at it. So he had to go back to the fastball. And major league hitters are really good at hitting fastballs.
Yeah, you can't be a 1-pitch pitcher.
No.
It doesn't work. You can't be a 2-pitch pitcher.
No.
And he does have more than that. And you know, he threw 5 pitches, I think, in the Rockies start. So there is that.
Yeah.
You know, you got to be able to have at least 2 of them, though. You know, and that, you know, they may not all work in the bullpen when you're warming up, but you got to have 2 pitches you can throw for strikes that at least makes it a little bit harder on these guys. And if they're 2+ pitches, like Kumar's fastball and curveball, slider, whatever he calls it, then you're in really good shape. But, you know, a changeup works. He throws a sinker that works. So there's stuff in there. But again, it's about commanding it. And early in starts, I think it's been an issue for him. You know, the last outing wasn't a start, though he went 4 innings. And by the time he did pitch, it was all Royals minor leaguers.
Sure.
And he dominated them, you know, but he still was a little wild, walked a couple guys that he probably shouldn't have walked. So it's all got to be buttoned up, you know, and it's probably not going to be perfect, but it needs to at least be close and around the plate to make these guys, you know, put the Reds hitters in swing mode.
Yeah, and in that Rockies game, you know, one of the things, it was on the Rangers Sports Network, one of the things Mike Bassick was commenting about with Kumar was the you know, very wild misses, right? Not missing by inches. And you talked about this yesterday with deGrom. He just doesn't have wild misses.
Yeah.
You know, if he misses, it's a very close. And then right after Bassick said that the other night on the game, a 6'6" or 5" or whatever Jonathon is, he had to like stand up and stretch for one, right? So you can't have those. You've got to rein that in. Probably some of that is overdoing it, overexerting, right?
Yeah.
Things like that. So he's certainly got to work on those things and be better at that. But now they face a Cincinnati Reds team, which certainly does not have the pitching, especially at the back end of the rotation, which is where we are for them right now. It doesn't have the pitching that the Red Sox did. I mean, you know, the Red Sox throw Garrett Crochet at you. Even their 4th starter yesterday in Richard Fitz, you know, he looked really good.
That's pretty good stuff.
And we know that we learned yesterday, actually, from talking to one of the people at the Rangers, that Bueller, you know, he wears a special hair gel. And we were told it's not that he always has an itchy ear. He's getting the gel out of his hair to get on the ball, and the ball moves in a certain way because of that. The other teams know it, apparently, not saying anything about it. Maybe it's not an illegal substance per se.
Yeah, I don't know.
Anyway, so there's a lot there, right? So the point of that is you're facing this Reds team now, Jeff, and this Rangers offense we really believe is going to be, you know, a typical, you know, Rangers offense where they get a lot of hits and score a lot of runs.
Yeah. You know, Brady Singer's been around a while. He was acquired from the Royals in the offseason in the Jonathon India trade, kind of a change of scenery maybe for both of those guys. And Singer's been good at times in the past. And he's had some decent starts against the Rangers, but this is a chance for the Rangers. They'll be rolling out their lineup against right-handed hitters, or right-handed pitchers rather. So a lot of lefties in there, and you know you can look. Jock Peterson had a hit, I think. You know, kind of a slow start. Corey Seager should be back in there after getting a day off yesterday. Leody Taveras has been pretty good, really.
Yeah.
I might be leaving out a left-handed hitter. If Jonah Heim's in there, then he's a left-handed hitter. But it's an offense that's kind of beneath the surface, bubbling a little bit. You saw Adolis do some good stuff over the weekend. Wyatt Langford did. Simeon's still a little bit stuck. Spinning.
Jonah had the 2 bombs
Jonah
in one
had the
game.
2 home runs, right? So, you're looking for it all to come together. The good news is when you have a lineup that deep, Jonah Heim can beat you one day, and you don't need necessarily Corey Seager and Adolis to do great things. And down there at the bottom of the order, Leody Taveras can drop a bunt, steal second, and score on the next play.
Sure.
I mean, there are a lot of ways for this team to beat you offensively, and but when it all clicks, it's got a chance to be fantastic. Scoring a bunch of runs, going out there in the first inning and getting a couple would put Kumar Rocker's mind at ease a little bit, I think.
Sure.
Any little bit to help. And again, the bullpen's still going to be okay for today, Bruce Bochy thought. But if they have another Tyler Mahle situation, they're going to have to go get somebody tomorrow. But if Kumar goes out and gives them 5 or 6, they'll be in good shape for Tuesday as well.
Sure, and with regard to that batting order, they haven't gotten a whole lot out of the top of the order, right? I mean, Simeon and Seager, and they're going to do it, and it's not like they've been absent. Although, Seager wasn't in the game yesterday, but and he DH'd on opening day. But that said, there's going to be tons more production from the first and second spot in the batting order than we've seen thus far.
Well, they're the guys that they make it happen. I know that we talk about the emotion that Adolis brings that the club can feed off of, but when you get 1 and 2 who were 2 and 3 in the All-Star voting, or not the All-Star voting, the MVP voting 2 years ago, these guys can make it really, really hard on opposing teams, because if they're on base, then you're like, okay, I got to get Wyatt Langford out. Oh no, I got to get Adolis Garcia out. I got to get Jake Berger out. And it's just one after another. Power hitting guys who make solid contact. And I know it's only 4 games, but Adolis Garcia has really cleaned things up. He laid off some tough sliders that he would normally chase last year. So everything looks like it's set up to take off. Yeah,
and I feel Berger's bubbling a little bit too. He's there. He's not absent, but he's, I think he's just sort of he's bubbling just under the surface.
Yeah, he had a double on Friday and hit a ball to the warning track that I thought had a chance to get out in one of the games. He actually runs the bases really well for a good guy like him.
Infield single yesterday.
He has surprising speed, sneaky speed. But he scored from second on a ball Friday that I think a lot of people were surprised that he scored on. Did it without even a throw. So he seems like he could be a fun player for a while.
He does, and he's pretty much made every play at first base with the exception of that scoop on the ball that Ezekiel was given the error on that. But other than that. And he made a couple of really nice plays, including the first defensive play of the season.
Right,
was a hard hit ball right at him.
Yeah, it was a tough ball. He was off the bag. He went and got it, backhanded it, made the throw to Evaldi, and so he's probably not as good as Nathaniel Lowe. Although I didn't think Nate Lowe was a great first baseman last year. I know he's a Gold Glove finalist, but he didn't win it. But it'll come in time, to see more chances, more different bounces. And again, I thought he was off balance. I thought that was the problem with Berger. I thought he had maybe a timing issue with his stretch or whatever. I just thought he was off balance. Yeah.
So we've got more coming up. We've got questions to answer already. We appreciate that. Keep them coming. Also coming up in the next segment, we're going to talk a little bit about mechanics, as there were some mechanical things we noticed mechanically over the course of the weekend that we want to talk with you about. It's all coming next. It's the DLLS Rangers Podcast.
Guess who's back, John?
Who's back?
Our good friends at Empire Today.
Oh, Empire Today. It makes me want to sing.
Yeah, well, let's hold off on that.
Okay, yeah.
But
All
anyway, they're back, and as the Stars head toward the playoffs, and the Rangers kind of trumped this idea a few years ago, but everybody wants home field advantage, right?
Yep.
And Empire Today helps you get home field advantage by giving you the best flooring around, and it's all they do. That's the thing that people need to realize is they're not off selling toilets and lawnmowers. They do floors, whether it's carpets or hardwoods, any other surface. They're going to be able to help you out. And what they do is they come to you. You book an appointment. They come to you. You can look at everything, how it matches up with your furniture, pick it right colors for you. So, and it's all in pricing too. So here's what you do: free in-home estimate today. Schedule it. DLS listeners can receive $350 discounts when using the promo code DLLS. $350 with the code DLLS.
Similarly, our buddies at Shady Rays only do one thing: shades. See there? See what I'm talking about?
Solid.
Good-looking shades.
Solid.
Actually, and I'm lying, they do more than just shades. They've got wearables now.
Oh.
And I haven't gotten one of their T-shirts yet, but they're really cool. I'm going to get a Shady Rays T-shirt too, and I promise you, a couple more pairs of these will be in my near future because I got a birthday coming. I never know what to tell the kids to get me. I'm going to get a couple more pairs of Shady Rays. I really like them. They're fantastic. They're polarized. I love the styles. I like this one. I like the one on the screen there. I've got my eye on a couple of more. ShadyRays.com is the place to go. If you use the code DLLS, 35% off. So let's first get to a couple quick things from the chat. Any update on Josh Smith? I've heard nothing yet today. Have you, Jeff?
No. He went out and ran yesterday, and apparently it wasn't very good. And when he came back to the dugout, he kind of hobbled down the steps. But Bruce Bochy said that they are hopeful that Josh Smith can play today.
Yeah.
Now, look, it's going to be cold, all right?
Yeah.
So that's maybe a concern, but it is a bruise. It's not a sore. It's not like a potential tear or anything like that.
He just slammed his quad into that barrier,
the post over there behind third base. So hopefully the Rangers are hopeful that he can be in the lineup today. If not, you'll see some Duran and John Ornelas. I did ask Boch and then later Jake Berger if Jake Berger, who played a lot of games in his career at third base, including last season, if he could be an option at third. And he can be. Jake said that after Josh left the game the other night, his third base glove was in the dugout if needed. But he also said he hasn't taken a ground ball at third since July. So maybe pregame today he'll get some action over there. But right now the hope is that our guy or your guy, AutoZone or Sports Zone, that your guy Josh Smith is in the lineup today.
Yeah, no doubt. And again, it does speak to, because it wasn't just Jeff's assessment that the running episode yesterday didn't go well. Those were Boch's words too. He said, "Yeah, I ran today. It didn't go well." It's like, whoa. I mean, so why do we think he's going to play tomorrow? I'll tell you why they think he's going to play tomorrow. He's tough. That guy's tough as a $2 steak. He really is. What was the injury he had 2 years ago?
Well, last year he had basically a sore butt.
Yeah, no, 2 years ago, he took a ball somewhere or something, and he played the next day. And it was one of those things where I remember commenting to him, I'm like, dude, you are tough. I can't remember which one that was, but he's a tough kid. And the other thing is that the technology is so good among the trainers and the training staff, and they were going to be with him the entire time on the plane, in the hotel, wherever they need to, and they administer these treatments. Some of them are electronic stimuli, some are creams and whatever, and they feel pretty confident about their ability to minimize the shelf life of a bruise.
Yeah, and if he, if during yesterday's game that's all that was happening, if he was just getting treatment, they can do these stems on their own. You see him walking around sometimes with them and doing it themselves. So he could do it in the hotel room.
Yep.
His wife, who they announced is pregnant and expecting a child, and maybe if she met him in Cincinnati, she could do it for him. I don't know, but there are ways to like you said, get a guy back.
Yeah, and Gallagher Champ might be talking about the one where he got hit in the face. It was definitely in 23, and I was just like, he was back in the lineup. I'm like, how can that possibly be? So he has demonstrated his toughness in the past. He'll play through pain if he needs to. There's really just no doubt about that, and that's really good. A couple of updates that people are looking for too. Did you get over to Bradford's locker yesterday?
Not yesterday, but I talked to him. I talked to him Saturday.
Okay.
He started doing some stuff with a plyo ball, so all the pain is out of there, and he thinks he's going to be on the short end of the spectrum as far as returning. It's still going to be a significant absence because he hasn't thrown since the middle of March. So for every day he's down, you think you may have to count that as a day in the recovery. But I think he's going to beat the 4 weeks. I mean, it was 4 to 6 is what he told me in Arizona. So he was hoping for the 4. It looks like the 4 is going to prevail, and then it could be a 4-week ramp up from there because he really needs to start over with the throwing program, and they'll be cautious with it. They could bring him back shorter, not stretched out, and let him complete that part in the big leagues if it's good. If he goes out and gives them a 3-inning start at AAA, let's say, and it's really good, then they could push him to 4, and then when he comes back, dominoes are going to fall. Somebody's going to get knocked out of the rotation and go to the bullpen, so they'll have somebody who's stretched out in the bullpen who can piggyback off of him. But that seems like good news, although it's also not happening imminently.
Yeah, it's not imminent news, but it is good news. The update on Josh Sborz. I didn't see him in the clubhouse at all this weekend. Is he even around?
Yeah, he's around. He started throwing in spring training. So he is playing catch. I saw him play catch. I think it was Friday. It might have been Thursday. Out on the field. It's still, 75 feet. He likened it to his Tommy John comeback.
Okay.
Kind of a slow, deliberate process. But again, unlike a starter coming, I know it's not Tommy John that he had a shoulder surgery, but coming back from Tommy John, the starters have to get stretched out and go through a very diligent process, whereas a reliever, really, you only need him to throw 1 inning, maybe 2. So you don't have to, it doesn't take as long for a reliever to get ready back.
Yep, no doubt. So anyway, those are some of those updates on those guys, and it's good. Generally, pretty good news. Nobody, obviously no setbacks, and everybody's headed in the right direction. Josh Sborz will be back pretty much just about at the time that we thought he would, which is likely before the All-Star break, but maybe not a heck of a lot before the All-Star break.
Yeah, June, July.
Somewhere in that time frame. So, and Gallagher Champ saw him hanging around in the bullpen on Thursday. That's good because that is a place where, brotherhoods and relationships and a vibe develops. And you kind of need the pieces that are going to be there long-term in there. And obviously at the end of the season, Josh Sborz is going to be there, provided he's healthy. And we'll certainly keep our fingers crossed for that. All right, so let's talk a little bit about mechanics. The mechanics of pitching are amazing. We've talked about it a million times. This is an unnatural thing to try and do to your body. All the twisting in the windup and the move and the leg up like Nolan Ryan used to do up to your chest, and then throwing a ball 100 miles an hour. None of these are things that the body was really intended to do.
No.
So every time you do that, and what Jacob deGrom does, and I remember Feliz used to do this too. There are certain guys who can just go up there and throw it, and it almost looks like you or me sort of tossing, and they throw 97.
Yeah.
A 98, 100. You're like, that's effortless, and that's where Jacob deGrom is on this thing.
Yeah, easy velocity, and but he, they all are reliant on their mechanics, but Jacob seems more dialed in and more tuned into them than anybody I know, and he believes deeply that mechanics, when his mechanics are right, then he's going to be really, really good. He didn't like his mechanics yesterday, He hasn't liked him for a while, honestly. He's getting closer, but the way he talks about it, he's opening up, okay, which causes his fastball to cut in on right-handers. And then, he said he's a little rotational. He's not getting down the mound long enough. These are baseball things that sometimes, kind of inside baseball things. But these are all things that he talks about like they're just matter of fact, and those are the keys to his success. And he's going to keep working on it. But the thing is, he was not at his best in his mind, and it was still 5 scoreless innings on 2 hits. Yeah, I mean that tells you how good it was, and he was able to repeat his mechanics on a lot of his pitches.
Well, and there is a video. Were you able to put that in, Prophet? The one I sent you of deGrom. Okay, yeah. So look at this video. This is unbelievable. It's the 6 strikeouts overlaid over each other, and the arm slot is exactly the same, you'll see. And then you'll see the 6 different hitters at the plate and the 6 different finishes after that. But the arm slot is exactly the same. Watch this overlay. Jacob deGrom.
2-2, runner goes. 2-2, runner goes.
Is that unbelievable?
Yeah, I think those are just the sliders because he did have a couple strikeouts on changeups. But your point is taken.
Okay, yeah.
Those pitches, the mechanics were exactly the same. The overlay was exactly the same. That's what he strives for, and that's what makes that pitch so hard to hit because it's in the tunnel of his fastball when his fastball's right, and then all of a sudden it's just gone. And these guys can't hit it.
Right.
So that's, you listen to these guys, and if you get to the ballpark early enough, sometimes you can see them out there just going through their delivery on the mound. Nathan Eovaldi's really big in doing that. And he'll do a towel drill, or sometimes he just does it without anything in his hand, just trying to get everything synced up and right. And he noticed that he was rotating too much in his second to last spring start, and then fixed it for the Angels start and looked fine on opening day. These guys they don't just go out and play golf the 4 days they aren't starting. Right. They're looking at stuff and examining things and looking at old videos of when they were at their best and comparing it to now. And it's really interesting that the deGrom stuff. And I like to think I've watched a lot of bullpen sessions of guys in my career. The thing that I notice about him is he's always tilted forward, even at the top of his delivery, where some guys are straight up or maybe just getting into their back leg but still straight up. He's forward.
Yeah,
and I think that creates some of the drive that you see. And then he's 6'4", 6'5". His arms are super long, so he has the reach, the extension. But the fastball, he was explaining where he releases it after the start. I went to his locker, and he was like, "When's the best? It's out here, and I'm inside of it. And when I'm not inside of it, it goes like that."
It seemed like he was missing a little high with that fastball too, which is not usually where he misses.
High and inside to right-handers.
Yeah,
those are his misses. And like the first pitch of the game to Duran was a fastball high and outside. But once he got it dialed in a little bit, he was still up in the zone though, which means to him he's maybe a little jumpy and a little fast with his delivery. So it's really interesting to listen to these guys talk about pitching mechanics.
Well, because again, and even Mike Bassick, who was great and fantastic and made it to the major leagues, but never had a career like Jacob deGrom or really any of the Rangers starters. But he is such a student of it, and he notices those little things like opening up or a shoulder here, or it's a very scientific, biological, anatomical process for these pitchers.
Yeah, it's again, it's just really interesting to listen to them talk about their pitching. And usually it's not on camera or on the record. It's just them trying to explain something and try to absorb it and try to relay it into the stories like the one I wrote yesterday. I don't think I quoted him about his mechanics, but I remember what he said.
Put it in there.
Hitters
go through mechanical stuff too, so we're going to talk about a little bit about that next. Also about managing expectations. Sometimes that is a process over the course of a season. We'll talk about those things next. It's the DLLS Rangers Podcast. And it's time to talk about Monarch money. You know, the one thing about having all of these different places that may take your money from you, or you spend it here and you don't, nobody spends money out of their pocket anymore. It's going here, there, and everywhere. And you have to figure out a way to manage that, right? Eating out can sometimes, trap you, and you're like, where'd all this money go? Or the ride shares, right? You spent money and you didn't even feel it. You didn't notice it, right? Things like that can zap your budget, and you go, where'd all this money go? Monarch money is what can help you figure all of that out. This is a money management app. This thing will help you not only manage your money, but grow your wealth. And that is the important thing to tell you about Monarch Money. I think everything that they do is fantastic. They help you to know exactly where everything is going. So go to get control over your money by going to monarchmoney.com and use the code DLLS. And that is, you can get 50% off your first year at Monarch Money with that code DLLS.
You know what? Once you got your money in order, you know you can spend it on something you need, which is a Saturday neon sign.
Yep.
Absolutely got to have them. The Final Four is set. And if you are fans of Florida or Auburn, well, Saturday Neon's got you covered. If you're a Mavs fan, Saturday Neon has you covered. What it is neon signs, but with LED technology, if you will. Not the fragile gas, old-fashioned neon signs. These things are durable. They last forever, and they're affordable, $75. So go to SaturdayNeon.com, use the code DLLS, and you will get 10% off of your order.
And by the way, I'm not a fan of Florida or Auburn. I'm rooting against the SEC.
Okay.
Sorry. And you know why? They've dominated football. This is a quick aside on the baseball show. The SEC has dominated football for all these years. Right, and I don't think you can argue too much that for sure over the last, decade more, SEC's been the best in football. Mm-hmm. They don't get basketball. Sorry, they don't.
Well, they have baseball too. So
they always have that.
And track
but
and field.
Really, I'd love to see Houston win the dang thing.
Well,
I love Kelvin Sampson.
Houston and Duke is going to be an interesting matchup because they both play really, really good defense.
They do.
Duke has size, so and Houston doesn't have size. So I wonder if the Duke guards are going to be too much for Houston's guards, and that's their strength with Cryer. But Duke is more than Cooper Flag. I mean, Duke is outstanding. Duke
Cooper Flag,
he's fabulous. But they have the two guards who are good, Proctor and Knuppel, and a couple big guys in there who can catch lobs. It's kind of looks like Luka and I don't know, one of the Mavs big men,
Derek Lively.
He drives it and just tosses up a little alley-oop once the defender commits. So the other side, that's going to be a boat race. I think that game is going to be that has a chance to be something good. I guess they only played once in the regular season, but Florida's got a lot of size, and they've got that good guard Clayton. I had Texas Tech beating Florida. The other night. Boy, they just let it get away. They were up 10. They had a bad possession where Toppin took a 3 and missed. It really could have been a dagger situation. And then now Florida did get hot as hell. They made 4 threes in a row.
Threes, they did.
But and then Tech missed 2 front ends, and so that just can't do that and expect to win a championship. So anyway, I had 2 of my Final Four advance.
That's pretty good.
Houston and Duke. I have Duke winning it, but I did have Michigan State beating Auburn. And
thinking that
I had a non-SEC Final Four, maybe in protest of the 14 teams. That goddamn the formula to pick the teams. The quad win records. Well, if you have all these quad 1 teams, and you end up winning a couple in this league that's so stacked, a lot of your crappy teams are going to get the benefit of the doubt.
Right.
But if you look at their bad teams, other than Arkansas, like Texas Texas
Right.
didn't belong in the tournament.
No.
And they got bounced by Xavier, So
Yeah.
there were some Oklahoma didn't belong. So there were some clubs like that. Anyway, we really got off the deep end here.
we divert, but we're fans of all sports, as I know many of you are too. So anyway, we'll get to expectations in a minute, but I got to show you, over the weekend, of course, we saw Adolis basically, break out. And again, I mean, this part will come in the managing expectations discussion to come. He had a great start last year too. He had a great first month, and things went south. So, I'm not suggesting, he's fixed, he's back, he's here forever. Let's tap the brakes on that. But let's say this. He looked great this weekend. He looked happy. He looked different too. If you watched his swing, he looked different. And it's amazing because he was quoted after the Saturday game when he hit a homer and a double and he was 3 for 3. He was quoted as saying, I worked on a couple little things mechanically, even after games 1 and 2 of the season. And the Prophet is spending a lot of time at the ballpark now, taking pictures and getting stuff for us and for MLB. He's been hired as a freelancer by MLB. So take a look at this picture the Prophet got with regard to working on the mechanics. Look at there. That's Bees with Adolis. And he said Adolis grabbed him and asked him a question out on the field. And then they went into the dugout and Bees, grabbed a bat and they started working together and holding it. And then that night, Adolis broke out. I don't think there's any coincidence there, right?
Yeah. The early success can be nothing but positive for Adolis because, he's got to trust the swing. And the only way to trust it is if you have success. And you can try to stick with it if you're not successful, but it makes it pretty hard to not want to go tweaking it. But the more success he has, the quicker success he has, the longer he's going to stay with the swing, the more he's going to believe in it, and then he's not going to chase. He's going to keep his stride short so his bat's fast. So, it was noticeable from the first round of batting practice he took that we saw. The stride is just shorter. The swing is definitely faster. But again, he's a guy that he rolls on emotion, man. He rides the highs and he really sinks with the lows. And so for him to be able to have this success, I think is a good thing. But if he does hit a skid, he needs to stick with it.
Yep, absolutely. And so as far as this management of expectations goes, so on opening day, Jeff and I had to, come in here and talk many of you off the ledge. It was like, oh, my God, the bullpen's going to suck all year, and, this is terrible, and, we should have gotten a closer. And, all that, part of that, some of that is true, whatever. We had to remind you it's one game. Now we got to go the other way and remind you it's one series. Again, it's against a good team. Fine, that's great. That's wonderful. We think that the Red Sox are going to be a good team. But and T. Farmer, I know, is kind of kidding, but T. Farmer says expectations, World Series or bust, and that isn't it, right?
Yeah.
The reality is expectations are keep getting good starting pitching. Hopefully you can get those guys into the 6th inning at least every night, and then you throw it to that bullpen and you keep hoping that those guys continue to improve and continue to get better and continue to get used to their roles, although Chris Martin has been in this role, the role he's in right now, many times before.
Yeah, and Holly just said she's proud of the bullpen because they bent but didn't break, and that's true.
Yeah.
You do have to trust, and I know it's hard, but you do have to trust the Rangers process in their scouting and identifying these guys, right? Hobie Milner.
Yeah.
Who saw his spring? Who saw him last year and thought, hey, he's a perfect fit for the Rangers.
Yeah.
And then he was no good this spring. And then like you said, you had a conversation with him. He was not remotely sounding confident.
Wasn't feeling confident.
He goes in there and pitches really well Friday and Saturday. You look at Sean Armstrong last year. He was with 3 teams. He's pretty far removed from the 23 Sean Armstrong, But the Rangers are like, hey, this is a guy that can do something for us. Same thing with Garcia in the trade for Nate Lowe. You'd expect that the Nationals probably could have given the Rangers a position player or a nice prospect, but no, they found a reliever they really like. So, even Luke Jackson, there's a reason the Rangers signed him. They like the strikeout rate against right-handers. So, just you kind of have to trust that as hard as it is, because it would have been, it would be nice to have Yates closing those games. There's no doubt about it. Or whoever else was a closer, Carlos Estevez, he got a save yesterday for the Royals. So, or maybe it wasn't yesterday, but the day before. The point being, you gotta kind of trust these guys and give these guys a chance. And one game is not it's not going to tell you what's going to happen for the next 161. Now, do I think Luke Jackson's going to be the closer all season? I don't know.
Yeah.
Chris Martin looks pretty good.
Yeah.
But like I have been saying, you need somebody who can go in there and get those outs. You need a David Robertson. And Chris Martin has a chance to be the Rangers' David Robertson from last season, doing the dirty work in the 7th and 8th to set up your closer for success.
Yeah. So, that is part of the whole process, right? Managing expectations. Kelly Man is right, too. The expectations need to be in much smaller bits. Win every series. You win series, they add up, and you're right there where you want to be at the end of the year.
For sure. I mean, if you can win 2 out of 3 more times than you lose it, you're going to be in the hunt. There's just no question about it. Winning 3 out of 4 is tough.
It is.
Winning a 4-game series is tough. So that's kind of an advantage there. But there are going to be times when the Rangers are going to lose 10 out of 14 games. They may lose 7 in a row.
Sure.
But those are the things that happen in the course of a baseball season, and they can still come out on top. And the expectations, I think you can expect this team to be a contender.
Yep.
I think that's fair.
No doubt. I think and look, I think that, I know that Chris Young's goal is to create something here where, kind of like the Braves were in the 90s, right? Or the Dodgers are now. Create something here where every year at the beginning of the year, we're hearing things like we heard today. I played a little snippet upstairs from MLB, one of the MLB network shows, and Tom Verducci is going on and on. What he's trying to do is sell his 2 partners, one of whom was Vasgersian, on the Rangers really are going to be good. Yeah. And he went through it all. I mean, he went through Jacob deGrom being here and getting 20 to 25 starts. He went through bounce-back years for Jonathon and Adolis Garcia. He went through the fact that the Rangers have acquired, the likes of Jock Peterson and Jake Berger, right? He addressed all the things we knew they needed to do, and then he was kind of like, so I really think they're going to be good. And so it would be a surprise to some this year. That's the intended point there. But what Chris Young wants is that not to be a surprise. That's just a conversation every year. Yeah, the Rangers are going to be in it. Yeah, the Rangers are going to be in it next year. Yeah, the Rangers are going to be in it.
Well, and Rangers have a lot of good arms at AAA. They could have just said, we don't need these guys, but they signed veteran guys, and they called it raising the floor of the bullpen. Yep. You had to do a lot to make this team. Mark Church was the only one who earned, of these young guys, who really earned a spot. He dazzled with this stuff, and he's going to be in the bullpen for a while. And Cole Winn wasn't right, so Cole Winn didn't get in. And you can go down a list of guys, even Robbie Ahlstrom, who was fantastic, and he's not even starting at AAA. They are putting him at AA. They have so many guys with minor league deals who probably can opt out. At some point, it's going to happen that Robbie will go to AAA, but you got to go out and perform. That's the number one thing, perform. And, again, you're going to be under consideration when, not if, when a bullpen arm is needed.
Yep, no doubt. I see comments in the chat about the Torpedo bat. Our discussions of that are coming up next. It's the cleanup segment. And, I saw another comment in there about Jesse Chavez. We'll mention that, too. It's coming. It's the DLLS Rangers Podcast. And it's merch week for us, really, because when we're at the ballpark, generally we're not wearing T-shirts.
Yeah,
I mean, that's basically what it is.
Right.
But,
no, I wore a shacket the other day. That T-shirt.
Yeah. Oh, did you wear it to the ballpark?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, I mean, the shacket dresses it up a little bit because of the collar. But, it's just, we're old school. We don't wear T-shirts.
And I do have a T-shirt underneath. I have the Die Hard shirt that you see there on the screen. I just run cold, so I've got a little hoodie on. But these are such great shirts. I got a shipping update. I should have my shirts, the 2 new ones, by the end of the week.
Nice.
So I will get them. I may not even wash them. I may just wear them.
Yeah,
I may just throw them on and do it. So
why not? They're clean.
anyway, good shirts, and not just shirts, hoodies, which we're about to be out of hoodie season. Though, again, I am always cold. So, and hats are coming soon. Damn it, I need the hats. So let's get those hats. But anyway, store.allcitynetwork.com. And if you become a diehard, you get a free shirt.
You do, and that's not all you get. You get 20% off all of our events. So there's an event coming up, I'm told, on for the championship, the national championship game. So details on that are to follow, but you would get 20% off if you're a diehard at that event. We're going to have events this year. We've already talked about some of the things that we're going to do with you and for you as events. 20% off of those. 20% off any other merchandise that you buy, which can be significant. So there's a real reason to, a financial reason to do that. Again, the free shirt is basically $35, and the subscription to become a diehard is $79.99. So you can do the math there. You're going to basically get your money back pretty quickly with all of these discounts we give you. So become a diehard, get behind the paywall for each and every one of our teams, and see exactly what's happening with your favorite teams in DFW at alldlls.com. All right, so we'll start with that Yankees weekend in our chat here because about the cleanup section, because look, it was unbelievable. I mean, first of all, to me, I'm always thrilled. I just love it so much when a team makes baseball history, because the history of baseball, we're going back pre-1900.
Long ways.
You're going back so far to the 1800s, and it's never been done. Never have guys hit back-to-back-to-back home runs on the first 3 pitches of a game.
That's outstanding.
Until Saturday.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I mean, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, and also from that, I think the Yankees were the first team ever to have 8 home runs and 4 errors through the first 4 innings of a game, which is outstanding. I love that
great.
One. Yeah,
and they're the first team to ever have 15 home runs in an opening series.
Yeah. Well, you can say what you want about the ball, about the bats and the ballpark, but they did appear to stumble on something with the Torpedo bats. Right. Now, in fairness to the Yankees, there are other players, select players, who are using these.
Yes.
And not every Yankees player is using them. Aaron Judge, for instance, who had the 3 homers on Saturday, is not using the Torpedo bat. But it was pretty interesting we asked Donnie Ecker about it yesterday, and there you see the Torpedo
difference.
Bat's on the top.
Yeah.
Traditional bat on the bottom. And basically what they're doing is they're moving the weight. They're moving the barrel.
Yeah.
They're moving the weight of the wood in every case so far, I believe, closer to the hands, so closer to the label of the bat. And the Yankees have hired this MIT physicist.
Yeah, I saw it today written. He goes by Lenny.
Hey, that's perfect.
Yeah,
Lenny.
Well,
Lenny,
the MIT physicist.
Lenny has come up with something. It's going to be revolutionary. It's going to be groundbreaking. Other people, other players, other teams are going to encourage their batters to talk to their bat companies.
Sure.
And it's not just like one bat fits all. They're tailor made,
Right.
And the example we were given was Anthony Volpe, the shortstop, who missed the barrel by an average of like 1.14 inches toward his hands last season. So the barrel got moved. And so you're going to see the results. And what Cody Bellinger used one during spring training, not sure he's using it now. Jazz Chisholm is using one.
Yeah, he's using it.
So it's pretty interesting. It's not illegal. it doesn't say anywhere the bat has to be symmetrical. It can't be wider. There's a certain width it can't exceed. And then like the hole at the top, for those who do that, can't be deeper than an inch. And the pine tar can't go above 18 inches, as George Brett knows. So I mean, it's here to stay. And I think T Farmer there, smart people working within the rules should be rewarded 100%. The Yankees dedicated resources to that.
They did. They paid Lenny a substantial amount of money. And and Donnie, in our discussion with him, and he was sort of speaking for the rest of baseball. If we didn't figure this out, shame on us, right? I mean, we should have put the resources toward figuring this out. He also spoke of a situation where the Dodgers had actually hired 3 different scientists, physicists, to study the dimensions of the ballpark. And I think he said, if I heard it correctly, Jeff, like nothing really ever came from that. They just they looked at everything and they thought, oh, we got something here. We can find something here. He said they spent $500,000 and nothing really came from it. But that's one of those things. You're investing in sort of the idea of can these guys help us figure this out? They couldn't, but that's sometimes the investment you have to make to get better.
Yeah, and the guy with all the Roman numerals down there thinks it's funny the Yankees needed an MIT scientist from Boston to get Volpe to hit the ball. Volpe hits 20-something home runs last year, but now I think he's a candidate to hit 30. Yeah, it's crazy because I read somewhere that a jam shot becomes a flare that falls for a hit, and a flare becomes maybe a line drive, and a ball that you hit to the warning track becomes a home run. So we'll see how this plays out. But again, I think we're at the beginning of a revolution in offensive baseball. I'm sure the pitchers are just thrilled about it.
Oh, I'm sure they're giddy. No doubt about it. And again, when I just first started seeing, before I'd seen the bat stuff, I first started seeing all the home runs that were being hit, in particular by the Yankees, who hit 9 in that one game. That's also a record, franchise record for the Yankees. I'm like, oh, God, here comes the juiced ball talk again. So, but now maybe it's the juiced bat that we'll hear about, or the torpedo bat in this case. All right, let's talk about Conine Day in Miami. What a day it was for the Conine family. Now, Jeff, you know the significance of Jeff Conine here in Arlington, yes?
Yeah. Won a home run derby, or won the All-Star Game MVP?
All-Star Game of the All-Star Game. The first All-Star Game here. Jeff Conine was the MVP of that one. He was an MVP in 94 and in 95. And he was the only player that was on both the 97 and the 03 Marlins teams that won World Series, of course, because each time they blew it up after they won it, right? But he was on both of those teams, only player to have been on both. And by the way, he was part of the blow-up. After the 97 one, he went elsewhere and came back for 2003 by coincidence. But anyway, that was the one that Todd Jones didn't, the year Todd didn't join. God bless him. Anyway, he was honored yesterday. First inaugural member of the Miami Marlins Hall of Fame.
That's cool.
And his son Griffin hit a bomb in the game.
That's really cool.
That is unbelievable.
Yeah,
I mean, can you imagine that?
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, so a heck of a day. And Jeff Conine, I was there. I interviewed him after the All-Star game when he was the MVP that year. So really fun to see that happen for the Conine family. All right. Jesse Chavez gets called up by the Atlanta Braves. That was my prediction for spring training, was that Jesse would make the club, that he would figure out a way, right? He's so wily. He's such a great veteran. I thought he'd do whatever it took to make the club out of spring training. And, obviously he didn't, and the Rangers gave him an opportunity to move on, and he did. And then I knew he'd do it. I mean, I almost knew he'd figure out a way. He immediately went back to the Braves, and he's already getting a call up.
Yeah, they DFA'd Hector Neris, the former Astros reliever who, signed with the Cubs last year and was terrible, and then caught on with the Braves. But Jesse didn't have a great camp. If you go look at his numbers, they're miserable. But,
no, they weren't.
I mean, the Braves know him. They love him. Everybody loves Jesse. You wish you could have 26 guys like Jesse Chavez, just like the personality, just a great teammate. Every day this year, his locker was right next to Kumar Rocker's, and in spring training, and they had a bank of TVs by him, and so pretty much every day they just came in and Jesse turned on an old movie.
Wow.
So one day it was Spaceballs, one day it was Point Break, movies that I don't think Kumar Rocker knew existed.
No.
And Jesse, of course, being older, knew they existed, and made Kumar watch. But everybody kind of crowded around. It was kind of a fun thing that Jesse Chavez is known for doing.
Yeah.
So that's great. I'm very excited for him.
Yeah, I'm glad for Jesse too. Now, did you see the video of Jonathon India getting hit in the jaw? Aforementioned Jonathon India got hit in the jaw by a Clase pitch.
Yeah, I did not see it, and he's back in the lineup today, Jonathon.
Unbelievable. And it hit him flush, and he throws his helmet down, and I mean, as you would, right? It hurts. I can't even imagine, so bad. And he's like, hey, he said a bad word, I mean, oh my gosh. And there you go with the toughness of a baseball player.
Yeah.
I mean, he's getting back into the lineup.
In the lineup today.
So yeah. And one guy who didn't look tough over the weekend was Roki Sasaki.
Oh, boy.
He did you have that video, Prophet?
Oh, good.
Let's look at this. Here's Roki. I should be nice and say, poor kid, he's crying because he did poorly. And I just can't go there. Jeff,
No.
I'm sure BC could. I can't go there.
As this process has unfolded, there's some things that have come out about Roki that don't paint him in a great light. He's not the angel that people might think he is at such a young age. So that's troubling. But there's a lot of pressure there, man. And he pitched okay in Japan, right? But not
a
great.
decent game.
The walks have been the problem.
Yeah.
These guys are just not going to chase that splitter, and you kind of look, well, where are his spring results? Oh, everybody's like, oh, that splitter's unhittable. It's unhittable for AA guys.
Yeah.
Not guys who can recognize spin and and the lights in minor league ballparks aren't any good, so it's hard to hit at night there. So I think that his spring numbers were a little bit inflated. So I think there is some concern about Roki. I don't think is he the favorite to be the National League MVP? Or not MVP, but Rookie of the Year?
Rookie of the Year?
I don't think so.
No.
I just think there's some problems there, and he hasn't thrown a lot of innings the last few years. But
No.
anyway, yeah.
And you know what? And I said this to you and to Abs in the clubhouse yesterday. And look, I never want to see anybody fail, but I root for the guy's failure. I mean, he spurned us. And so I'm rooting for it. That's all I am. And by the way, to your point about things came out just through the process that made me wonder about this guy. He's 23 years old. He's coming to a new country and to the best league of baseball in the world, and he gets a meeting with these general managers, and he gives them a homework assignment.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? And they had to do it, right? The only way they get to sign him is if they go home and do their little home. Oh, Roki told me. So am I supposed to put my name on top and the date? What the hell? Who are you, kid? You have a little respect for the process here. You don't come in and tell Chris Young, but Chris did it, and I don't blame him. I would have done it too. But Chris Young's got skins on the wall. You don't come in here and tell him, okay, well, if you go home and do this homework assignment, I might just sign with your team. That pisses me off too.
All right, we got to do the overtime thing.
All right, we're going to have to do this. We want you here every day. We love you, and we want you to be with us every day on the DLLS Rangers podcast. All right, we're back.
Yeah, let's do there are a lot of questions we didn't get to.
All right, let's go.
And Benny asked a couple. And the first one was about Teodo and Acker.
Yeah.
Acker is pretty much definitely going to be a reliever. We had an old Ross Fenstermaker on the weekly show not that long ago. In fact, it's our current episode. And he said, Dane, where he's at in his career, it's, with him not being selected in the Rule 5 draft, the fastest path for him to get to the majors is as a reliever. And the stuff played better. You know, they saw it last year at Frisco. It was pretty good. So Teodo, Ross said, they're gonna hold him at 3 innings. They're gonna stretch him out to 3, see what the MLB team's needs are. Whether if they need a reliever, a multi-inning reliever, then he's got a real chance to do it. They have not given up on him as a starting pitcher, but right now they were so intrigued by what he did in spring training, they think that he might be able to help.
That's interesting. We haven't talked about that. I haven't heard that. So
Yeah.
that sort of keeps him, so Teodo basically keeps a foot in both camps, right?
Yeah,
If the big league club needs him as a reliever, or in this case, a piggyback guy, right? If you're going 3 innings, I mean, he could stretch out to 4 or 5 if they really needed him. But 3's kind of that position where he could come in and pick up for Jacob deGrom after his start, or whoever might need that help.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it's possible, And so anyway, there you go, Natalie. Oh wait, Benny had another question. It is kind of early on. While he looks for that, there we go. Well, it wasn't Josh Sborz. I thought it was something else. Well, anyway, whatever. Natalie has asked, "What is the future for Leody Taveras?" Well, right now it's starting center fielder against right-handed hitters. Right. He was had a good camp, did all the work, stayed here in the offseason, put in the work. And so right now it's his job until Evan Carter comes alive. But even when he does, I think Taveras remains on the team in some capacity, and I think at that point that's when you're going to lose a Ornelas or a Duran to the minor leagues. Well, you'll lose Ornelas when Young comes back, so it might be when Duran gets sent down, if he gets sent down.
It's an interesting decision that will be made, by obviously ultimately by Chris Young and by Ross Fenstermaker, though. When Evan Carter, and I think it's a when. We definitely think it's a when Evan Carter starts to really produce at the minor league level, at the AAA level, but if Leody is still going great, right? Well, why? Why necessarily do you make that move? Because it doesn't hurt Evan Carter. Let's just say Leody has an entire year like he had in that 2 or 3 month stretch there in 23, right? It doesn't hurt Evan Carter to be in the minor leagues for a full year.
No, it wouldn't. But,
I mean, it helps him. It helps him. It doesn't hurt him.
He's got to get out and play and get the bat right, and he also needs to put on some weight.
Yeah,
that would help. That would help too. That's another thing. Is Evan Carter, who is as skinny as a rail, is he going to be able to put on the weight and the strength to stay healthy? That's another thing that I think is something that nobody's talked about. So anyway, Gallagher champ, did Molly talk to the media after a start? Apparently not.
No, he didn't talk to anybody.
But I'll give him a pass because he wasn't really the story. But I would have tried to talk to him had I been there. I was off Saturday. So, I'll give him a pass on that one.
Yeah, I almost went over to him Sunday, and he kind of walked away as I was. But I wonder. I don't know. I mean, he's an experienced enough guy. He knows the starting pitcher needs to talk. I don't know that he, denied talking.
Right.
There was nobody really hanging around there.
I think if the Rangers had lost the game, he would have stayed.
Yeah.
I think because they won, then he felt less of an obligation to talk about his lousy outing.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and then we got the one from Ozzy D down there. If Adolis remains hot for a while.
Does CY start to think about an extension? Or will they wait till the last minute due to age? That's an interesting one.
Yeah, that is.
Every team loves a 1-year deal, so the last year of arbitration, that's not, next year won't be the end of it. I don't know. I don't know. He needs to stay healthy. He needs to have a good year. But I mean, it's going to be intriguing if he does. If he hits 35, 40 home runs.
Yeah.
You think you'd want that guy on your team or that potential on your team.
What did he get at the beginning of last year when he was?
It was 2 and maybe 13.5 or 2 and 14. He's making 9 something this year.
Okay.
But yeah, no, that whole ordeal I think kind of upset him too.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
don't think there's any doubt about it.
Yeah. So
all right, do we get all caught up?
I think we did. We appreciate you guys.
Dennis, I wonder who's next on the Marlins Hall of Fame list. Mike Lowell's a good one. I like
Yeah.
Michael Lowell.
Oh,
Yeah.
Dennis, that's my man.
That is
Dennis
your man.
Loki.
Yeah.
Dennis, a director. I don't know if he's still over there at FanDuel, but he was with us for all those years at Bally and Fox. So, hey, Dennis, thanks for checking in. And that really, I love that Conine story too. So, man, we love hanging out with you. We do it tomorrow again at noon, and of course Wednesday we're here for pre and post game. I think the pregame's at 11 Wednesday. Post game's about 15 minutes or so right after the game ends. That'll be the game. That's the finale in Cincinnati. So game 1 in that series is tonight with Kumar Rocker on the mound. We'll see you again tomorrow. We'll talk about it then. It's the DLLS Rangers Podcast.
We all silly like the mayor.